Welcome to this week's episode of Coffee with the Journalist, brought to you by OnePitch. The guests on our show include some of the most notable journalists from the top US-based publications who cover topics including technology, lifestyle and culture, health, science, consumer products, and business news. We discuss their role, the types of stories they cover, what their inbox looks like, and how they connect with sources. Our guest on the show today is Holden Page, Director of FinLedger. Holden covers venture capital and mergers and acquisitions in the Fintech space. Prior to joining FinLedger, he was a managing editor at Crunchbase and owned his own venture firm from 2013 to 2017. On the episode today, Holden talks about pitches in his email inbox and his Twitter inbox, why honest sources are the best ones to work with, why he assumes good intent with sources, and more. Let's hear more from Holden now.
Welcome, everybody. This is Coffee with a Journalist. I'm Beck Bamberger, founder of OnePitch, also BAM, fun agency, working with all these crazy startups. And today, we're going to talk about some housing stuff. We have the wonderful and very intriguing, I'm so excited to talk with you, Holden Page here. He's director of FinLedger, which we're also going to talk about, so you all know exactly what that means. Former managing editor at Crunchbase, a bunch of other stuff you just heard. Holden, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, exciting. So are you drinking coffee?
Of course, yes. I actually filled up right before this.
Nice. Me too. Oh, it's one of these rare situations where both people are drinking coffee at the same time because we're doing this nice and early. So yay. Can't we talk about first on your Twitter, what is that called? That like main image. Is that from what I think it is from?
The header image?
Yes, the header image.
It's from the Oregon Trail
That's
game.
right. I knew it with the little pixelated things. Here lies Holden. Lived a good life, died by email typo. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. A friend of mine on Twitter actually made that for me after I sent out a bad newsletter with a couple typos because I don't. It's okay. I don't have editors for my personal newsletter. So.
Yeah. And see, you still live today. I think any elder millennial appreciates that. I was like, I know exactly what that's from. Oh, man. First of all, before we talk about your inbox, can you tell us a bit about Housing Wire Media and what FinLedger all involves?
Yeah, so Housing Wire is actually a brand under HW Media. So HW Media is this umbrella company that includes multiple publications. So that would be Real Trends, Reverse Mortgage Daily, Housing Wire, and then what falls under my purview is FinLedger. And FinLedger is kind of built from the ground up within HW Media. So the other publications were acquisitions, whereas where I've been brought on to help build FinLedger kind of from scratch, developing the audience, attracting financial services people, and really trying to grab the environment of fintech and put it under one publication. Yeah.
So I'm assuming, for everybody who is listening, bank tech, prop tech, things about money, payments, crypto, all that good stuff. That's what you're covering.
Yeah, all the things. I mean, I kind of have to be a little strategic because there's so much that's going on. I cover crypto when required.
Yes.
If we were covering crypto all day, every day, there would be so much stuff we would be missing out on. Yeah.
You wouldn't have time. So earlier, before we hit the record button, you were saying people message you on LinkedIn because we're talking about LinkedIn. How is your inbox and where do your pitches come from?
Yeah, so my inbox is probably like every other journalist's inbox, scary. I get a lot of the pitches, obviously, through PR people in my email inbox. I also get from sources a lot of Twitter DMs. So a lot of like the comments I've gotten from venture capitalists and whatnot are via Twitter DM. So I do pay close attention to those. Other things that end up in my actual inbox, I get a notification for every subscriber to the FinLedger Daily because I like seeing those numbers go up.
Ooh, okay. Yes, I love it.
And then I also get invites to just speak to people contributing podcasts, basic management stuff. I'm a director, so I have one-to-ones with people. And yeah, as in regards to LinkedIn, this has been new to me, as we discussed prior. People in financial services really like LinkedIn. So a lot of the conversations that I have with sources or just potential people to do stories with, we just converse through LinkedIn messages, which is completely new to me. So now I open LinkedIn like twice a day, every day, which wasn't true like 3 months ago.
Isn't there a lot of spam on there though too? I'm on LinkedIn all the time because we're doing like a talent thing on there, which is great. But man, there is a lot of spam. People trying to sell you stuff.
Yes, there is. And like I'm pretty quick to click the block button. Like I don't care.
There you go. There you go. Okay. What would you say is the proportion, especially because you're a director, proportion of pitches in your inbox compared to everything else?
Oh gosh, like 80% of my inbox is pitches. Yeah.
It's that much.
Yeah.
Oof.
And there's just so much going on in fintech, and there's all these angles, and there's so much money too. So everyone can afford the press firms, you know? So yeah. Yeah, the budgets are endless.
That's the problem. Yes. Okay. So then systematically, well, do you have a system? Like, do you have a color coding flag system? Do you just let it roll? Like, I've heard very large extremes on this show, I have to tell you.
I try my best to move things into folders that I know are just super important and I need to get back to. I am very quick with the archive button. I do click the spam button pretty often. I don't think it does anything. Maybe it's just like my little rebellion against like nonsense pitches. I use an email client called Spark. It has a ton of shortcuts. I really like its swipe features on iOS. Basically, like once a week, I kind of go through like a bankruptcy where I'm just like, okay, I'm going to get through these 100 emails and whatever happens, happens. And if I accidentally archive something, I'm sure they will get back to me if they feel passionate about it. Yeah.
Okay. And you call that your bankruptcy. You just like bank it out. Okay. I've never heard of it referred to it as that. And do you get to like inbox zero or is that just fantasy?
That once a week when I declare bankruptcy, yeah, I'm totally...
When you declare bankruptcy.
Yeah.
I love that. I have not heard that phrase before. Declaring bankruptcy on my inbox. Here it goes. I love it. Okay. We like to talk, Holden, about where story inspiration comes from. Do you have a way in which you think of how your stories unfold? Now, some, of course, you're talking like breaking news, like when you're doing these funding rounds, like that's a very pinpointed piece of news, et cetera. But like maybe this Q&A that you've done with a new person, you do something, you talked about Visa acquiring a fintech. You're talking about whatever you might be talking about that's not like the hard breaking news, but more is just a story you want to pursue. How do you come up with those ideas? Or do they come from pitches?
Yeah. So, things do come from pitches, but I'm pretty selective. What I like to do, and given my job title, like I no longer do like on the ground reporting day in and day out, but I do make a point to make sure I'm talking to really interesting people. And fortunately, my title tends to get me a bit more attention in people's inboxes. And also like being verified on Twitter helps. It actually means nothing, but
exactly.
Blue checks are a good signal.
Right, that's right.
One of my favorite ones was talking to Acme Capital's Brian Yee. So Acme Capital invested in Robinhood, and we were kind of going up into Robinhood leads up to the IPO. And that's just a good timing, right? And what was cool about Brian, and this is part of the discussion when you're working with a good like press person, of like, hey, how honest are they? How willing are they to talk about what they're actually thinking when it comes to the investments they're making? And what story are they willing to tell? And I'll ask them all that stuff first. And if they're like, they're kind of looking for, if you read between the lines, a puff piece, then I don't really go for it. But in the case of Brian Yee, it was great talking to him. He had a really great through line for his narrative. So, he started at the dot-com crash. He went through kind of how he met all these pivotal people working on the Facebook and Uber deals. And what I liked about that is, when we write about a lot of like tech profiles, especially, it's like they just magically bursted out into the scene. The innovation just happened. Whereas like, I like to see where the foundation came from and how it was built up over time, because I don't believe in overnight successes. And I want to expose that.
It is a enchanting fantasy though, isn't it? Where you think,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, it just burst into the seam, all that stuff. Meanwhile, 5.5 years, they've been grinding it out with a team of 3 in the basement. That is more, and I'm in startups. So like, that's actually what's happening. Not, oh my gosh, they just burst onto the scene. The technology just works. It's like, that's not what's happening. So I appreciate you casing that for sure.
Yeah. Well, we all like to be breathless.
Yes, of course. Oh, okay. So you kind of get a variety of your creative input from various sources, sometimes pitches. Okay. So a freelance publicist, her name is Justine D. Audio. Justine is asking, how can we build better relationships with journalists aside from the obvious, knowing what's newsworthy, being considerate, etc.? What would you say?
Yeah, I mean, one thing, if you're going to build a relationship with other journalists, you need to be willing to go to events and network with people. I know that's very boring to say, but like shake hands, be engaging. The other thing is there are so many Slack and Discord groups out there. You need to join them. And then the next thing is like, you need to actually show up. That's the biggest thing. Like I see a lot of journalists, they're being like, oh, I'm going to join this community and then like everything's going to be great. Everyone's going to be welcoming. And like, yeah, there'll be people that are welcoming, but they're also waiting for you to show that you're committed before they are. I say participate in those communities, put yourself out there. Yeah.
Let me ask though, where are you, sir, showing up for anything?
Well, I'm in a couple Discord groups. One's called News Nerdery.
Okay.
I'm also in a part of, I have a lot of Twitter DM groups, actually.
Oh,
and
okay.
Some of them have been maintained now for years. It feels a bit like elitist, though, because like if people get slowly added over time. So it's like shadow groups. So it's not very easy to like kind of maybe like get into that group. But what you can do is start those groups yourself, especially if you have a few people that are really engaging, that you're engaging with publicly, and move those conversations to DMs and go for that. I'm kind of a gregarious person. I don't just talk about work, for instance. I really do try to keep like my journalism, fintech stuff between 9 and 5 p.m. It's fine to talk about it afterwards, but even journalists don't want to just talk about journalism. Like they have other hobbies. I do CrossFit, let's talk about that.
Oregon Trail.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So hopefully that shed some light.
Yeah. I think as we come out of this pandemic, people are asking, well, one, do I even want to go outside and meet with people in large groups at all? But then 2, where's people showing up for? So I will follow up with you, Holden, on that. But it is the question of like, well, where do people show up for meeting and greeting people? Anyway, I think we'll be figuring that out in the next several months.
Today's interview will continue after this brief message brought to you by OnePitch. Are you curious to see the unique ways OnePitch helps PR professionals and marketers pitch journalists? Head to onepitch.co to learn about our new OnePitch score and see how easy it is to find the right journalist to pitch your news to. Sign up for your free account today. Now, back to today's episode.
Now fill in the blank time. Here we go. I'll give you the phrase and you just fill in whatever the answer is. Here we go. My favorite sources always
are succinct.
That's a succinct answer. The most annoying sources always.
Oh gosh, send me multiple Twitter DMs at all times of the day.
About the same thing?
About the same thing. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. Where's that at? When is it going live? Et cetera, et cetera.
Ooh, pushy.
Yeah, it'll get there.
Yeah. You'll get a response from me if
you're kind, to the point, and have a specific ask. Yeah, kind of goes with the succinct portion. Also, warm introductions help.
There you go. You can follow up with me if
you're engaging, you have something new to add to the conversation. I also appreciate people being able to just drop a line and be like, hey, I noticed that you like this thing. Here's an article. Here's something that'll add context to what you've been working on. That's always super appreciated. And it just has to be the link. the subject line could be like, I think this is helpful, link, and I'll respond with a thank you or nice read or something. Yeah.
There you go. Okay. It would be a huge help if you.
Oh, it would be a huge help if you, I never thought about asking people what to help me with. It would be a huge help if people just sent me, to be honest, if I send them an email and I'm like, here's this thing, let's get it done. We get it done. Maybe not responding with the thank you email because it just brings it back in and it's like, it's just at the top of my inbox and I don't know how to respond and it's just taking up space. So you don't always have to say thank you as a separate email.
Oh, okay. Because it's just more space.
It is just more space.
Freaking space.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Like I assume good intent. So I'm just going to assume you're thankful. Yeah.
Yeah. That's nice. Okay. But here's the next fill in the blank.
Mm-hmm.
The best compliment I received about my work was.
It was actually recently that I approached things with calm. And the reason why that's a good one is because it wasn't always true. I actually had to really work hard to obtain a measured state. It involves therapy, and anxiety med, and just a good sense of self that's been developed over the years. So when that was pointed out to me that they felt I was calm in a really stressful situation, I didn't let it know in that very moment. But afterwards I ran to my wife, and I was like, hey, this thing's working, what I'm doing. Yay.
That's good. What did she say?
Oh, she agreed. So we've been together for 5 years. So she's gotten to see the work in progress.
Got it. Oh, that's great. My favorite stories to write are.
I like stories that expose something arcane. I like regulation. Because there's just so much.
Everyone has their thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's just so much nonsense that's like covered up in these words. They aren't that complicated. I like being that person nitpicking and being like, oh, you're just actually saying
this is what this is.
Okay, yes. Cool. Thanks. Yeah.
Now, by regulate, so are you in the troves of like what's coming out in legislation from the Senate and like looking at all the articles and things of that sort? Is that your jam?
Lately, it's been fintech regulation because I think that's actually going to be
happening. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's going to be really important. It's going to impact a lot of startups. There's an agency called FINRA, charged Robinhood $70 million.
Yep.
It was fascinating. I mean, you have to read them too. I'm so shocked by how snarky the government can get as well. Like they're fun reads.
Oh man. Oh God. Now it's kind of making me think, I should look into some stuff. I just came back from a trip from DC. Fascinating. Anyway, that's an aside. Okay. One thing I think people should know more about me is.
I think one thing that people assume about me is that I'm very extroverted and that I like to go out and have a good time and stuff. And that's true. I also probably have about 4 hours of that max a week. I could do a really good job for about 4 hours. And
then that is all.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's really for like, my mental health, making sure I stay steady. And I think to finally answer the question, because I'm meandering now, that I take my mental health super seriously and I'm super open about it.
That's good. I take it you're an introvert.
Yeah. Over the years, I've gotten more introverted. Yeah.
Is that are you an elder millennial, by the way?
Is 29 elder?
No, you're not elder yet. Okay, I'm elder. Right. You're smack dab millennial. I think as you do get older, you get a little more crusty.
Yeah.
A little like, yeah, I'm good. I don't need to be there.
Oh, no, that's happening more. And the COVID pandemic didn't help.
It really jettisoned that. Yep, exactly. Yep, I'm good. Okay. One piece of advice for aspiring journalists is?
Yeah, don't wish to write, actually write. There's this romanticism that a lot of journalism writers in general have, I'm going to write the perfect piece. This has to be grammatically correct, or you're very attached to what you've written. You need to like burn that in the fire, those feelings. Words are usually not that precious. You need to publish to show somebody that you're worthy of being paid. And if that means starting your own little Substack or publication to just keep going, then that's what you should do. For me personally, like I hire writers. I don't hire people who wish to be writers.
That is good. Quarantine has taught me.
Quarantine has taught me the value of community, really. I used to fly a lot. I'm going to be flying
God,
again.
me too. Yeah.
It's easy to kind of get caught up in, all these networking events, connecting with all these people. And during the pandemic, I had to reinforce the relationships that I already had, learning more about those people, appreciating their presence more than I did before. So, yeah.
The last best thing I ate or cooked was?
So my wife makes this stuff called sriracha chicken. And it's this sauce that you pour over broccoli and rice. It's very spicy. I could eat like that all week if we can make it, but it takes a while to make the sauce. You can super easily burn it. Like if you overcook it for like 10 seconds, it's burnt and the whole thing's ruined. So that's a bummer. So we don't do it often. But if we could, I'd do it all the time.
Nice. My perfect Sunday is?
My perfect Sunday would be, it's summer now, so I would be going mountain biking. That's been typically what I've been doing on my Sundays. And then honestly, like I don't mind sitting inside and like rewatching Game of Thrones after that. I have no big ambitions on a Sunday.
Yeah, I like it. How long do you bike for? Are you one of those people that does like 60 miles or something crazy?
Oh God, no. Like just like everything in my life, I'm like, just assume
Moderation.
I'm like the moderate. Yeah.
Moderation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I can appreciate that. That is good. Okay. That concludes our little fill in the blank type of portion. Ooh, okay. So you mentioned Game of Thrones. What are you, especially now as we exit out of pandemic time, reading, writing, reading, listening to, watching? We will take anything. This is where I get all of my insights for what I should be consuming myself. So do tell.
I have been reading the V.E. Schwab series, Shades of Magic.
Shades of Magic.
Yeah, she's a great writer. A lot of young adult novels are like, they're good, but very simple to get through. And I'm like, I'm an adult now. So she does this really good job of bringing fantasy into a more adult stage while also keeping it an easy read. I do read like S1 documents all day.
Yeah, you need some fun.
Yeah.
I mean, the Shades of Magic, I'm reading it here, series is the gas lamp fantasy phenomenon from #1 New York Times bestselling author V.E. Schwab. And it talks about all this. Oh, wow. Okay. I got to put
It's
this
really
on my
fun.
list.
It's really fun.
Fun. 3 books. There's 3, it looks like.
There's 3. And
right,
if you're,
put it on.
And I'm also a lazy reader, and I got through each of these in like a week. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if it's on Audible. Okay. Shades of Magic. Anything else?
I have 2. They're blogs I read. So
We'll take them.
One is a blog by Julie Fredrickson, and she's doing this thing where she's writing every day for 2021. And no matter what, if it's 100 word or 500 words on her personal blog, and she writes interesting stuff. I just really enjoy her personality. She's kind of willing to go against the groupthink that can sometimes happen on Twitter. I described her in my newsletter once as like a loose cannon that won't destroy the ship, but will be amused at poking holes through the sails. So that's her vibe.
I like it. Oh, fascinating. Okay. I'm on LinkedIn. Is it she managing partner, Chaotic Capital? Is that the right one?
She is, yeah.
Okay, Chaotic Capital. Oh, I like it.
See, that's also on brand, so I feel really good about my description.
If I ever had a VC fund, I decided it would be called, the acronym for it would be BIG, very similar to, BAM, since we got this 3-letter thing going on, and it would be Bad Ideas Group.
Nice. I love it.
Right? Definitely not the typical venture type of thing.
It gives me Shrub Capital vibes.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, that's perfect. Okay. What, Holden, do you think is the future of journalism?
Yeah, the future of journalism. I mean, that's a big one. It always is. I'll put it into 2 buckets, which is the first one is I don't think gated content is a sustainable way to continue make revenue off of readers. If I didn't have a corporate card, I would not be paying for all the subscriptions I have now. I think it'd be coming out to about $360 a month.
We've talked about this before with other people on here. It's like you could spend $1,000 on subscriptions now a month if you wanted to be that vast of a consumer. Now, no one really does. So, but how cost prohibitive is that?
Yeah. So one of the things I think too, I don't think that like the membership or subscription is going to go away, but I do think if you want to keep your users from churning, and I'm using the word users very specifically. I think that's the context that you need to be viewing your readers in. There's some standard SaaS metrics you can apply to this. And so you need to be able to productize whatever you're doing. And so like, I don't know, for instance, if you're doing a big data story, what does it look like, for that chart for a, signed in member to be able to download all that data and with that get a tutorial from the data journalist on how to manipulate that data. Now, I don't know if that's like a great idea. But what's that hook look like? What can you offer in addition to, and then just adding a culture of experimentation on those things. And I think that's important. And you work with startups and stuff.
Oh yeah.
How many experiments can you do until you run out of money is kind of
the game.
Yeah. And I think that could be adapted more in newsrooms and such. The last thing is talent. So reporting is a difficult job. Finding sources, being able to write quickly is intense. I also have some new standards. I do expect, just like, journalists know how to type into Word. At this point, they should be comfortable using WordPress, uploading their own images, doing tags, categories, and preferably as we're moving towards more data-driven journalism, I'm not saying that they have to be data journalists, but they should be able to open Excel with a few hundred rows of data and create a pivot table to gut check some assumptions they're making. That is actually quite hard to find. So if there are any young journalists listening, it's like 20-minute YouTube tutorial.
Yep. There you go.
And just being able to make that stuff secondhand nature is going to be really important.
We have come to probably my favorite part, Holden, which is our little Mad Libs here. So I will give you the word, and then I'm going to fill it in, and I'll read you back the whole paragraph, if that sounds good.
Sure.
Are you ready? Okay. An emotion.
Sad.
Sad. An adjective.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. Another adjective.
Yellow. I don't know.
Yellow. Yes. Perfect. Perfect. That works. Okay. A greeting of any sort.
Hello, everyone.
A verb.
Run.
A noun.
Dog.
An adjective.
I'm going to say brown.
Brown. Okay. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. A cringe-worthy PR term or phrase.
Oh, there's a there.
There's a there? The hell does that mean? There's a there?
Exactly. It's cringeworthy.
Oh, it is. Okay. Yeah, I agree. Okay. A part of a pitch.
We have some really exciting news for you.
Do you actually get that? That actual phrase?
Yeah,
Oof.
all the time. Mm-hmm.
Oof. A length of time.
7 months.
7 months. A person, ideally dead or alive. Ideally. Okay, ideally alive. Ooh, I need to keep drinking the coffee.
It's just because I watched Bo Burnham's Inside, so we're going to say Bo Burnham.
God, wasn't he great in that?
It was good. I loved it.
Was remarkable. Oh, for anybody who doesn't know, that is a Netflix special of a one-man in one room comedy, which comedy is maybe it is funny, but it's also sad, pandemic-y comedy.
It's kind of like a cap on the pandemic in some ways.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, God. Man, yeah, Bo Burnham. Okay, almost done. An emotion.
Exhilarated.
Okay, here we go. Holden, when I think of the future of journalism, I feel sad. The pitches I receive have gone from beautiful to yellow. If I receive a pitch that starts with hello, everyone, I run. When I write stories about dogs, I get brown. My favorite pitches include there's a there, and very specifics. We have very exciting news for you. I normally take around 7 months to respond to my emails, but if it's Bo Burnham, I will respond immediately. If you do get a response from me, you should know that I'm exhilarated for you. There you go. I love
that is
it.
a thing. I mean, I think the 7 months in Bo Burnham was really accurate.
There you go. There you go. Oh, man. Holden, thank you so much for being on here today. Such fun, as always. A lot of great insights, and appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having me. This was a joy.
Seriously. Oh, thank you.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Coffee with the Journalist featuring Holden Page from FinLedger. If you enjoy listening to our show, make sure to subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and anywhere else you listen to podcasts. And if you have a moment, please leave us a review to share your thoughts about the show and today's guest. To learn more about the latest tools on OnePitch and to subscribe to our weekly podcast newsletter, head to our website at onepitch.co. We'll see you all next week with a brand new guest and even more insights about the journalists you want to learn more about. Until then, start great stories.